As someone who is barreling his way into his 30s, leaving his 20s behind like a cigarette butt thrown out the windows while speeding down the highway, I can't help but ask myself, where have all the good friends gone? We lose some to old lovers, some to differencing opinions, some move away, and some pass away. When you're young, the adults tell you you'll be able to count your real friends on one hand. But what I'm realizing, can you even do that? Are the friends you have now going to be around when you're crossing into the fourth decade of your life? Are the people you're surrounding yourself with now even your real friends? What defines a friend? When did the word friend go from defining those you would do anything for, those you could ask anything for, to being people you only accept giving access to your personal life on Facebook? What is a friend?
Coming live from the South, this is the 30 something broadcast.
What's up, guys? This is the 30 something broadcast, a weekly broadcast brought to you by two guys just trying to make some money. I'm JT.
I'm Blake.
How you guys doing today? Blake, what's up, man? How's your week been?
Ooh, it's been good, bud. It's been good. Just been keeping up with some football. I know you have been too.
Oh, things have been good, man. Just working a bunch this week. Getting ready to watch this Panthers game. We're recording this on Sunday, September 24th.
Yep.
Panthers are playing the New Orleans Saints today. Shout out to Cousin Carter down there in NOLA. But yeah, man, things have been good. Blake, I really can't complain, dude. Back at the old job. We got the show up for last week's show a few days ago. We're sitting here talking about friendship today, man.
I'm excited about this, man. This is a good topic. It's very relevant to both of us, I feel like.
Probably to anybody out there, man. I mean, especially like in our show, um, we kind of try to put it out there into the waves for the people that are hitting their 30s, in their 30s. I'd say really
Pre-30s.
at any point in your life, you really though are I think dealing with this issue of friendship, and in our minds we always kind of wonder, are the people that I'm surrounding myself with true friends? I know a lot of people. Me and my wife both. She grew up in Mooresville, right outside of Charlotte, and I spent a lot of time in Charlotte, and I think us living in a small town now is a lot different than living in a big city. And when we visit that city, a lot of times the people that we surround ourselves with there, I wonder, like, are these people really friends with each other? I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah.
the relationship, the dichotomy is a lot different there, and I don't know if this is everywhere in big cities. I shouldn't speak so broadly, but I'm going to. I noticed that like there's a lot of talk behind each other's backs and things like that, but I think it's really just the way those friendships are laid out more than it's that they're not real friends, and that's what we're going to talk about today is defining real friendship and what is real friendship, and I think that's different for everyone. I figured we could start the show off. We're gonna go a little bit more freestyle today, y'all, and not really have segments so much. We're just gonna kind of talk about this topic for a little bit. But I wanted to start off with I looked up the definition of friend on Google and the Webster dictionary. It's funny because first you have the noun version of a friend, which is a person whom one knows and with whom one has a bond of mutual affection, typically exclusive of sexual or family relations. Okay, so that's typically like me and you. We're friends. We don't have sex with each other. We're not related. We have a mutual relationship that we benefit from each other. Man, we have now. It's still an intimate relationship. It's still, you call me any time of day. I'd do anything I could for you. Same, and I know the exact same for you, brother. We're friends. But it's
Hmm.
funny they added this, and I would say this has been added within the last 10 years. There's also the verb of friend, and that is to add someone to a list of contacts associated with a social networking website. And I thought that was
Hmm.
just such a telling uh, example of where our society has gone, that the word friend has now been completely taken over. It's like they say, and it's Sunday, and we're sitting here before the show starts talking about fantasy football and what to expect today in these games. And I read this thing a year or two ago that Sunday used to belong to the church, now it belongs to the NFL. You know,
Mm.
and this is also true about the word friend. It used to belong to us, and now it belongs to Zuckerberg. You know, I mean,
Mm.
he completely they the powers that be, the Instagrams, everything like that, which we use we use for social net for actually for networking. It's social networking is what I think can be such a dangerous thing that friendship has just been completely uh, highway robbery, man. You know, it's been taken right. I mean, not even highway robbery. A thief in the night came and just took that from us, and it has now become where I would imagine most people out there listening. If you go back and listen a few shows ago, you will know that I don't have a Facebook. Never really have. Never been into it. I had MySpace back in the day. We're going to get into kind of the golden years of friendship later, and I'll tell you more of my story on that. But um, I'm not associated with that because I feel like that leads up to a lot of you talk about the foundations. There's a story in the Bible about the man that built his house on the sand, the man that built his house on the rock. When the storms came, it took that house away on the sand. And I think a lot of friendships today that are mostly revolving around the world of social media are built on the sand. And when the storm comes, those houses of friendship, they're going to be blown away. They're going to be taken out with the tides. And I think that's where that's something I'd like to really get into today. To just ask, what is a real friend? Are you out there? Are your friends the people that are just telling you happy birthday, happy anniversary, congratulations, you're having a baby on Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat? Or do you consider the friends the ones that will actually call you when a loved one passes away? Are your friends the ones that'll send you flowers on your birthday? What do you out there consider a real friend? And you really have to take a look in the mirror sometimes and ask yourself, for the relationships that I have put myself into healthy for me? And I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like, you really look and see. It's funny, I'm not on social media, like I've said. I feel like I have a decent amount of friendships. I think I have a low amount of friendships, but I mean, you look at the actual like mean of friendships. The average amount. Like I'd say I'm doing pretty good. I'd say I've got, just off the top of my head, probably 5 good friends, and I couldn't even name them. I'm just throwing a number out there. Really, like if I really sat here and thought about who would I call right now if I needed $500 or if I needed somebody to help me hide a body, I probably got 3 to 5 people that I could call. I mean, you were here when I got married last October. Um, I had 5 groomsmen that were, I had 5 groomsmen that were actually friends of mine, people that I knew. I had a buddy came to town from, Canada. We had cousin Carter in town, had my buddy Ethan, my brother, and you were basically the, groomsmen like +1, like you weren't dressed out in the gear and stuff because I had to include my brother-in-laws, which is totally cool, get it, but you guys are basically the ones that if I need something, I will call you. Like if I needed to call somebody and ask somebody for something that I didn't want to do, I'd swallow my pride and I'd give you a call. And I mean, now that we've been doing this show for a few months, I mean, I feel like our relationship's even blossomed even to a bigger scale.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
So
And I
what?
mean, that's a. Go ahead.
Go ahead, brother.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think that's probably a byproduct of us putting effort and work into it. You know what I mean? It's not like 6 months ago we were like, "Hey, let's try this thing out," and then we only talk to each other once a week before we record. It's like it's a every day. It's every day. I mean, it really is. It's even the days that we don't talk. I would say we're still thinking ahead on just life, man. If your girl's going through something like a surgery or a family situation, man, I'm you know I'm not so far away from you that I forget. You know what I mean? And it's like even though you don't have Facebook, even though it's not constantly in front of me, I would say that's a more powerful relationship in more senses than some of the relationships that I've had for even longer spans of time, but that Facebook is now the common denominator for. There's just nothing in common anymore, whereas I feel like when you're putting effort and energy into something, you're going to see a lot more, fruit on the branches or whatever. And I think that's probably where we are right now is we've put energy, we've put effort into this, and the byproduct is we've become closer through that. So I
Yeah.
think that's a great example just right there of kind of how a friendship can work. Because
Yeah,
I mean,
well, you made a good point. When your friendship's common denominator is that you're both on Facebook, that is not a friendship.
no,
You know, I mean, I hate to
no,
be the one to have to tell you out there, folks, but when you only have the only thing you have in common is your about, you know, your interests and stuff on Facebook and the clubs you're or whatever you're part of, you know, the groups. If that's your only thing you have in common, you're not friends. You know, I know back
no.
when I was doing the vape thing pretty hard. You know, for those who don't know, I ran a vape business for about a year. And I mean, I got in the vape game. I mean, when the ground, you know, on the ground running. I mean, I was there at the floor level of vaping, and you know, I'd already been through kind of the hardcore scene in my like teens and stuff, so I already could see that all the people that were being around each other, and we're buds and we're friends and we're the cloud chasing crew. You're not really friends, you know, like you're just building each other up for like a social status. Like a friend isn't meant to make your social status higher. A friend is meant to be there when your pops passes away. You know, your friend is meant to be there when your baby is brought into this world. You know, when you get
Yeah,
married.
yeah,
That's what a friend is really for. You know, and I'll tell you what, Blake, you start having kids, you start getting married, you start losing people in your family, you start to see who your real friends are, man. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. I mean, I think that life has a really good way of weeding out people on its own. And man, that process is different for everybody. But I think some people take it harder than others. I think that friends is a seasonal. It can be seasonal, you know. Seasons come, seasons go, but they come back. You know, I mean, it can be one of those types of things where I know some of the best relationships that I've had were instances where, man, I life just blindsided me and I was just so consumed with that. 6 months would go by before I could even, it dawned on me, I haven't talked to my best friend. And I mean, this was in a dark period of my life, but when I reached back out to those friends during that time, man, it was like picking up right where we left off.
Yeah.
But I will say this, you know, that was probably 5 to 6 years ago, you know, when I was coming out of that dark time. And I think everybody was kind of coming out of a dark time at that point. So we all sort of needed a little bit of a reminder that we had other people other than our family, you know what I mean? But I think the later you get into your 20s, and we'll touch on this, but the later you get into your 20s, you're right, man. The more you're gonna see who your real friends are and who's in it just for the social status, who's in it for what they can get out of people. And I mean, I think in a previous episode, you nailed it on the head, man. But you know, don't say hello when it's time to say goodbye. I think that translates into your friendships. I think that can translate into relationships with family members, even if it's unhealthy. You know, there's been periods of time where I didn't talk to someone in my family because I knew I didn't have anything nice to say. They didn't have anything nice to say. We both needed to come to a point where we realized we weren't the know-it-alls and we're family. We got to deal with each other for the rest of our lives.
Right.
And it will be better for us just to mend this bridge and know that we're different people with differing opinions, but we could still love each other through those
Well,
circumstances.
I think that's what brings people closer together. You know, I was talking to a buddy at work the other day that I enjoy being around people that I completely disagree with. You know, and it's not because I enjoy fighting or anything like that. I feel like I grow as a person when I'm around people that I have differing opinions with because I'm fully aware of myself that I'm capable of hearing your opinion that I may completely disagree with and saying, okay, yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Not, well, that ain't what I believe. You know, you get into politics, you get into religion, you get into things like that. You start to like you run into a lot of people that can't handle um, differencing opinions. You know, man. So it's nice. I feel like a good friend, honestly, a lot of times is someone you do disagree with a lot. I think it keeps you humble. I think it keeps you in perspective that your ego can be way bigger than it should be. You know, they
Yeah.
pop your head when it's getting too big. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's a good friend sometimes, man. And sometimes you need someone to stroke your ego. You know,
I think
sometimes you need someone to build you up when you're hard on yourself, when you're down on yourself, and say, "Hey, man, you might be a dumbass, but you're not that bad of a guy." You know, and I
you're not
think
too far gone
right. You
to
know,
save this friendship or even to try to because I'll say this too, man. I think friendships are not, dude, they're not pretty. Like they're really not. You know, when
Yeah.
it comes down to it, they're ugly, they're messy. There's all kinds. And like you said, if you just agree on everything as friends, man, that relationship isn't going to be shallow. It's just, I think you're right, man. And I look at it as I think in like metaphors a lot of times, man. But, and this is honest to God truth, I look at a good friend as sandpaper. And I will be the rough edged piece of wood that needs to kind of be refined.
Right. Yeah. It needs to be
And it's
smoothed
people
down.
that disagree with me in a healthy way that can sand down those rough edges or those closed-minded thoughts that I have towards other people or whatever. But I'd say that's a great quality in a friend is someone who can reel you back in and make you kind of think twice about, wait, why am I thinking that way about this, topic or whatever. I mean, and it doesn't always have to be super deep. Sometimes it's just like, hey man, slow down. You're driving like an idiot. Oh, okay,
Right.
cool.
Right. Yeah.
Thanks. I don't want to die tomorrow. Like, oh yeah. But there's other things in life that go way deeper than, stuff like that. I mean, religion and all that stuff that can tear friendships apart. But I've also seen it bring people closer together when they
Yeah,
disagree
man.
on stuff. So I don't think there's any formula or there's any recipe for a good friendship. I think it takes two people who are willing to put some work into things and who have some things in common. I mean, obviously, you're not going to become friends with someone that you don't like. You know, uh, I'd say you're probably going to drive yourself crazy if
Yeah.
you just go around making friends with people that you disagree with on everything.
Well, I feel like you're gonna drive yourself crazy if your goal is to go around making friends. You know what
Yeah,
people have
yeah,
to
that's another
realize
good point.
is why do I need to be friends with everyone I come into contact with? Why do I even need to be friends with everyone I like? I don't need to be your friend. Like just because we talked about this the other day. If you're a good acquaintance of mine, you'll still get a lot out of me. And I still have respect for you. I have respect for people I don't like. Respect comes first. Um, I feel like, though, just because we work together, just because we go to church together, just because we're next door neighbors, just because we're the same skin color or the same sex or anything, doesn't make you my friend. It doesn't make you my enemy just because we're different either. But,
Right.
it's very rare for me to consider someone a friend. It always has been since I'd say, and we're going to get into this. We can just segue right into this. You called it before we started recording the golden years or like the golden years of friendship. I think we may have a differencing opinion on when those years are because they're different for everyone, man. It's a
Of
stage in
course.
life, But I'd say for me,
Of course.
from the age of like 16 to 19, 21, somewhere in there. I was going to a lot of hardcore shows and in Charlotte and the surrounding areas. I was in a band. We toured together. So I was in a band. Had four guys there. They were my brothers. They were my best friends. Brotherhood until the end. I'd die for anybody in this room right now. And all this bullshit that's not true. It's all just to sell you something. It's all to sell shirts at their merch table, sell you their album, sell you a dream and a vision of something that's not true. You cannot be friends with 6,000 people. You
No.
cannot be part of a movement and it's the same with vape. It's the same with underground hip hop. It's the same with wrestling. I see it with so many different like subcultures. We're all brothers. We're all friends. No, you're not. You see it at these Republican and Democratic rallies. You see it at marches. You see it at everything that we're all one. We're all together. We're all friends. No, you're not. You're not
Mm.
friends because that's not even social media taking the word and using it for something else. That's a movements. That's a group of people that have usually a subversive plot to do something different than they say they're doing. They take this word, they take this idea that's been around since Aristotle talked about friends, man. Aristotle said that friends were two souls inhabiting one body.
Mm.
That it's love. It's funny. A true friend is as intimate as your lover. And it's a what do they call it? A platonic. I feel like it's a platonic love interest is what a friend really is, and it's funny because when I worked with a bunch of Hispanic guys at a job once, and they talked a lot about, that when we're together, this is a marriage, and it's very weird the way they're very more open about these words and these ideas than I feel like our white culture
they have a
is.
much stronger grasp on the idea
You
of
know,
marriage. I mean, they
and
just truly
the
do.
idea of friendship and the idea of partnership. You know, man. And
Yeah,
I feel like
family and all that stuff is very close to home for the, and I have family members, that are extremely close with the rest of my family, and I try to be, but in all honesty, man, it's just the day to day that, causes me to forget to text or call, or, it is what it is. And I think you probably, like, for you, when you say, your network of people when you were 16, was the hardcore kids, was this group of guys, and you were just ride or die. And I think it's ironic because nowadays it's turned into, instead of an actual group of friends, which was your social network, that was your social network back
exactly.
then, has now turned into this vast cloud of friends and acquaintances and family. And it's like, are you my friend? I don't know. And I think that's kind of what this whole episode boils down to. Like, where have the good friends gone? They haven't gone anywhere far. They might still be down the road. But
It's funny, yeah, because when you really think about that question, the good friends haven't gone anywhere.
right, the priorities shift
They've
and
been muddled.
distractions take place, and you just become focused on certain things, and that friend becomes focused on other certain things, and it's like, that's just life. And there's no beating yourself up over that. But it is, I mean, I looked at my early 20s as my golden years. I was in school, I was, going to a lot of music shows. I had a huge group of friends. And I mean, I felt like we were going to be friends into our 30s and have, our kids would play together. And
Right.
those ideals faded quicker than the falling leaves outside, man, because the older I got, the more I saw that the direction those people might be headed in is very far away from the direction that I plan to head in.
Right.
And I chose, I don't know if you can say any path is better than any other path, but I chose for me the path of security and the path of growth. I'll just be honest. Some of the friends that I used to run with, man,
The homie, I tell my wife every time we go to, and I mean, I'm not calling nobody out. If anybody that I know that out there, especially in the Charlotte area, there's a lot of my friends and acquaintances. Sorry to tell you, but but listen to this show and have been supportive, and I appreciate that. But I will tell you something. When me and my wife go out there, for a lot of people that we run into, and we talk a little shit behind their backs. As soon as they leave, we both say to each other, "They doing the same thing they was doing 10 years ago. Why are they still doing the same stuff they were doing 10 years ago?" Like, that's not just about, because I'll tell you something. I agree with you 100%. I'm married. I bought a house. I have a job that I've had, except for like here and there, leaving for a little bit. I've had this job pretty much 4 years, almost half a decade of
it's safe to say you never left, man.
I am secure.
Yeah.
As secure as one can be. I chose the path of security. I chose the path of settling down and whatever you want to call it, but let me tell you something. I didn't choose the path of being stale. I didn't choose the path of spinning my wheels in the dirt and digging my car deeper in a hole. I chose to keep with the security that we have both, me and you both, and our respective women have chosen in this life that we're trying to live. We have not just chosen security, we have chosen to move forward in this life. Financially, fiscally, morally, because here's the thing. We're moving forward in age. Ain't getting no younger. So when you look at, 30-year-old, 32-year-old, 38, 40-year-olds that I know in Charlotte that are still doing the same thing the 16 and 18-year-olds are doing. They were around when I was doing those things. See, I relate it back to the hardcore scene so much. I know a lot of people out there probably don't even know what I'm talking about. Hardcore, it's a, what I'm saying? It's some heavy metal, y'all. It's underground music scene. And it's not as much prevalent anymore, but in the mid 2000s, they were the labels were owned by the people that were making the music. You're printing your own merch. You were, vinyl. They were a big reason vinyl came back. And you saw even then at those shows, and even then in that culture and that scene, that there were the 35-year-old guys and girls still hanging around.
Mm-hmm.
Still not doing with their lives, dude. Still,
Yeah,
it's
man.
all about the next tattoo they get, the next cool shirt they got, and who they're banging. You
Yeah.
know, and I'm sorry, but there's more to my life than that. Because guess what, y'all? I got a whole room full of cool shirts, and I'm still getting tatted up, but money's getting in the 401k. And when I'm 65 years old, buddy, I'm gonna be sitting on a beach in Florida counting my money. You know, and that's the difference in me and them. You know,
Yeah.
and I realized quickly that those people were not my friends because they offered me no true benefit to where my life was heading. And buddy, they just weren't around when times got tough. They weren't around.
It sounds like you woke up. It
Well,
sounds
I had
like
an
you woke
awakening.
up, man. You know, it's a priority thing, man. And I think it's for better or worse, I think during your golden years, it's a it's a time of understand of actually it's time to come to grips with who you are and the direction of your life. And you can it's true. My parents told me as a kid and I never wanted to believe it, but man, you are who you hang out with. It's just so simple.
Man,
You're
I used to hate hearing that when I was little. And I'd say that ain't true. You can because
it's
Jesus hung
true.
out with the sinners and the whatevers. But it's like, yeah, but buddy, you ain't Jesus.
Yeah. No, and it's the
You
I had
know?
a an old friend explain to me, man, because I was man in my in high school and stuff, I was just like, I'm gonna go out there and change the world, and I'm gonna,
Yeah, yeah.
and I had an old man, an old guy that I trusted. Just, I just looked up to this guy so much, and I probably should reach out to him. Speaking of, friendships and stuff, but man, this guy said something to me, and he said, Blake, imagine that all those people are standing up on a chair and you're out there, you're trying to lift them up onto your chair. You're trying to help. Hey, come man, there's a better way. Come over here to this chair. Do you think it's going to be easier for you to pull them down off that chair, or for them to pull you down?
Right.
And I was like, mm, yeah, it's going to be a lot easier for them to pull me down.
Yeah, it's
It's going
easier
to
to
be a
pull
lot
someone
harder.
up or be pulled down. And that's
Right.
yeah, man.
For me to change them and pull them up out of that into a different way of thinking, it was just naive, man. It was naive of me to think that I could do that. And not to say that you can't do that, but for me that wasn't going to be my life mission, was to try to continually just pour myself out,
Right.
And so I realized that early on for me, my social needs were being met by a very few select group of people. I mean, when you say you had five good friends, I'd say I had three.
Yeah.
For the majority of my 20s, I had three or four. And probably four would be stretching it. But
Yeah, that fourth
there's a
guy's
there's
in and out, and
there's a
look, well, let's do it like this. So we've kind of discussed the golden years. So for me, they were probably my like later teens, early maybe first second year of my 20s. Yours were your 20s to mid 20s. So that's our golden years of big, friendships just shooting off the kazoo. Friends are friends till the end. BFFs, they'll never leave me. I got 1,000 friends. Okay, so that's your golden years. So we're gonna take a quick vape break, y'all, and when we get back, we're gonna discuss the bubble, the it's like the financial market of friendship. The bubble popped, and then what happened? Where are we at now? Where do we go from here? So we'll be right back, guys. We're gonna take a quick vape break. Carter, bring us in.